Hi guys, this is Samantha K here from the Samantha K Experience. I'm here to tell you guys that it's free and easy to start your own podcast. Don't know where to start? Well, here's how. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your home computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more podcast websites. You can make money from your podcast as well with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey, it works for me, and I'm living proof. Hello, it is March 2nd, 2021, and I am Samantha K, and this is the Samantha K Experience. Hi guys, welcome back to a brand new episode. Today, I have a lot of jam-packed stuff that I want to discuss with you guys. The reason I haven't been here for a while is that I've been doing some remote learning for the past few weeks, and pretty much between that and I've also been not been feeling well. It's not anything COVID related, not at all. I've been taking proper precautions with that. It's just that I have been feeling under the weather, and it goes off and on, but hopefully in time I would go and find out what's really going on so that I can put it into this. But yeah, guys, I hope everyone is doing well on this nice Tuesday evening. And without further ado, once again, I am Samantha K, and this is the Samantha K Experience. All right, guys, so just a few things. There's a lot of things. I shouldn't say a few. There is so much stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about today on the show. I've been since I've been MIA, I've been watching a lot of stuff, and I know a lot of you know that I'm into a lot of Netflix documentaries or just documentaries in general. I don't really have a preference on where I watch them. It's just that I have a Netflix account, and majority of the shows that I watch and movies that I watch happen to be on Netflix itself. But I want to talk to you guys about this popular docuseries that just came out about maybe 2 weeks ago. It is the crime scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. Now, I gotta tell you, this series was crazy. It was I want to say it was a whodunit, or it's more like what happened. I think that was one of the major questions, if not the only question that was asked. Just to give you guys a little backstory. Okay, so the Cecil Hotel is this hotel out in Los Angeles, California, and especially it's located in the downtown area. Now, back in the 1920s, I believe the exact year that the Cecil Hotel was built was December 20th, or it opened on December 20th, 1924. This hotel was it wasn't a really I guess it was at the time. It opened to be kind of a fancy hotel. I wouldn't say it was the equivalent of what we know to be the Ritz-Carlton, but it was okay. It had 15 floors. It had 700 guest rooms. It was pretty much a really big place. It was not one of the biggest buildings in downtown Los Angeles, but it had a lot of rooms. And honestly, that's the first time I've actually heard that a hotel had that many rooms. But that's just me. So basically, the reason for the whole big thing about this Cecil Hotel is that this hotel has a lot of negative history. Now, in the beginning, I would say like in the 1920s, like shortly after it was built, we had the Great Depression, and downtown Los Angeles got hit pretty hard. So what happened was that a lot of people who were that had some money or whatever, it was a good place for them. But when a lot of people were down on their luck and, either lost their jobs and lost, any financial stability that they have, the capabilities of supporting their families, etc., etc. Basically, they kind of turned the hotel kind of fell on hard times as well, and the hotel kind of became a place for just anybody to go to. It kind of became a place where old men would go, and then they would meet and have prostitutes would come to the building, and then lo and behold, people who just looking to get away from, I guess, the pressures of their everyday life would kind of go to this place, this hotel. And the hotel at the time was after the hotel sort of recovered after the Great Depression. The hotel was really cheap. It was really the rooms were really affordable. I think at one point in the documentary it had mentioned that the hotel was you could pretty much rent a room for maybe, I would say just a couple of dollars, a week. And now compared to today's times, you can't even one person just spending a time in hotels like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if anything, if you don't have the right deals and travel coupons. It's really expensive. So the hotel had fell on hard times, and also not only that, a lot of derelicts started attending the hotel. People would start coming into the hotel and using it for places for prostitution, and it became very known for drug areas, and for being a big drug area. A lot of people would go in there doing drugs, and unfortunately, after a while, at a certain point, the building was known as the Suicide, because the building had a lot of suicides occurring over the time frame. I think it was estimated that the hotel might have had at least a number of I think it's more than actually somewhere in the teens. I think it was according to Room Spook. It was a website that tracks hotel deaths. They said that the hotel had at least 13 suicides that happened there. One noticeable one was a man who shot and killed himself in front of his I don't know if he shot and killed himself in front of his wife and child, but he had committed suicide back in 1927. He was 52. He shot himself in the head while he was in one of the rooms after he was unable to reconcile with his wife and child. So he pretty much died on the way to the hospital, or he was already pronounced dead on the scene. Another one had occurred in 1931. This gentleman, W.K. Norton, he had died in his room due to taking poison capsules and whatnot. So pretty much throughout the 40s and 50s, there was more suicides occurring in the hotel, than I would say practically almost any place else at that point. And it also had a couple of murders as well. A few people have gotten murdered. So at this point, the hotel had a lot of bad juju going on with it. I mean, you've had people dying I think in the documentary it was stated that pretty much almost like every year or just someone passed away in the hotel. At one point I think they mentioned the former hotel manager had mentioned that she was in the process of giving a tour to someone who was going to stay at the hotel, and the SWAT team, I believe, had their guns drawn because a guy was running around, and I think he was stabbing people or something like that. So they told her to like get back, and it was like a really intense situation. It was like a standoff and such. Also, like the weirdest thing, it was also said that the serial killer, Richard Ramirez, who was known as the Night Stalker in the 70s and 80s, he was known to be a resident at that same hotel. The funny thing about the hotel is at one point or another, the hotel had become kind of like sort of a, they cut off like parts of the hotel and transformed it into this nice little fancy smancy place for the more like modern folks who are like more into like tech and stuff. And so the other side of the hotel was called Stay on Main, while the other side was pretty much known as the Hotel Cecil. So you still had like the kind of like the disturbed and those type of people in the hotel mixed with people who were just looking to vacation and see what Los Angeles is all about. And it just so happens that the hotel is right in the mecca of the area called Skid Row, which is a population of homeless people. And as you may know, that a lot of people on the streets, they either choose to be there, some don't. It's by force. Some may be having mental issues that they may not be able to handle, and a lot of people just dumped out on the street, and they're pretty much like forgotten and uncared about. So while you got all of this stuff going on, mixture with drugs and people going back and forth in the building, it was like a lot of craziness with this building. So basically this building has a lot of negative history attached to it. And unfortunately, the docuseries, is basically about this young lady who came from Canada. She was trying to just see the sights and meet new people. Her name was Elisa Lam, and unfortunately, while she was staying at the Hotel Cecil, she passed away. So the docuseries pretty much takes place over a certain lot of time. She decided that she wanted to travel to the United States, go sightseeing, go and visit and stay at this place because it was affordable at the time. And the hotel, everything seemed to be going somewhat okay. Like she would write on Tumblr, on her social media page, about meeting new people, and she would discuss about she was just really good with her words, and she would talk about a lot of personal stuff about her life and what was going on in her head, like what was she thinking. So she pretty much chronicalized a lot of things that she was going through on Tumblr. So the situation is, sometime before she was said to have come back home on this vacation that she had taken, something goes horribly awry, and she ends up disappearing. Unfortunately, what happened was the hotel hallways did not have any cameras visible. They only had a camera set up in the elevator. So what happened was, when she was reported missing, it had been like, I think a day the same day she was reported missing by her family. The problem is that when police finally got the footage of her last known whereabouts, it seemed to be like she was either under the influence of something, or she was just like really acting kind of erratic, like she was pressing a lot of the elevator buttons, and she seemed to be looking outside of the elevator because it seemed like she was looking to see if someone was following her. So we never really got to see from the footage what exactly she was looking at, or even if she was talking to someone in the hallway. And there have other people in the show that talk about, who followed the case too, who also make maybe video content about it on things like YouTube or some type of social platform. So long story short, basically these people were saying that how they didn't think that, like they didn't really know what was going on. They had their assumptions, like they were being kind of like sleuths and trying to find out, like, well, what is going on with Elisa? Why she seems like she's not acting like herself. So as we go on, basically we find out that by her own admission that she is bipolar. She found out sometime before she actually attended this trip, and she's been bipolar for some time. She was staying originally with another set of women who decided that they didn't want her in their room anymore because she was starting to act too erratic and too bizarre. So the hotel decides to move her to another room by herself. And this is where everything kind of turns to shit. So now you leave this girl unattended, and you obviously know that she's been acting kind of weird and awkward and with her behavior, and no one says or does anything or contacts her family to find out what's wrong with this girl. So about a few days later, obviously at this point the police get involved because now it's a kind of not a local thing, because she says she's from overseas, she's in Canada. Now this is a real serious thing. So she goes missing, and no one seems to know where she is. No one can find her. They put her effects in storage. The police go and look through her computer to see who was the last people she spoke to, things of that nature. And they find that, there was two guys that escorted her back to the hotel because she had purchased some books, and they were in a box, and she was afraid of how she would be able to travel with the box since she was going back home, and whether or not it was going to be too heavy for her to carry. The police interviewed these two guys. The two guys never, according to the video footage that was seen from the inside looking outwards towards the main entrance of the hotel, these two guys were never seen or heard from again, and never seen, interacting with her or in any type of capacity whatsoever. So it was like, well, what happened to Elisa? Like, did she just disappear? Did somebody in the hotel do something to her? So like all of these questions started coming up, and no one could find out exactly what happened to her. Unfortunately, some time had passed, and I believe it had been probably maybe a couple of months or a few months after she had disappeared. A workman at the hotel was had gotten a complaint about the water pressure being off, and also when people would drink the water, it tasted funny to them. So he went up to the roof, and the roof has like these 4 different I want to call them cisterns. Sorry, it's not a word that I use often, so please bear with me. So they have these four big water containers, and when he opened the lid to one of them, or as they say, he opened one of them, then inside was Elisa's dead body floating at the top of the water. So he apparently closed the hatch and then went and back and reported that he found this young lady. Now, the major thing that the police I might have to tell you guys, or I am going to tell you guys, the police searched the roof. They tried to retrace what they thought was Elisa's last steps and could not find her. They even had search dogs and nothing. So then people started thinking maybe she was, hidden somewhere and then placed there after the fact or whatever. Because she was wearing clothes when she was seen in the video. And this was a video that was like pretty much viral all over the internet back in 2013. And she, honestly, I was just like, wow. Like, I was so, like, annoyed at the fact that a lot of these cases I hear, like, things could have been solved easier if people would have just taken the extra step, the extra mile, especially when it comes to, like, police work. Like, I don't like to be critical of the police and how they do their sleuthing and their job, but it was just one of those things, like, you guys could have possibly found her earlier, and we could have probably found out and determined what it was the cause of death. Like, how did she even get there? So the theory is that when she leaves the elevator, she immediately goes to her left, and there's a set of stairs that's just out of shot that you guys can't see, or anybody can't see unless, like, you're really there or something. And it said that she walked up those stairs, and then there's a door that has, like, supposedly has an alarm on it, but they assume that she opened the door, must have felt hot, or she just was, like, not within her right state of mind, and somehow opened up the latch, climbed in, and then, closed back the hatch. The problem is that the type of latch that is used, there's no way you could open it from the inside, because one, if you're in the water, there's no ladder for you to climb up to get out of it. So obviously there's an issue here. And who supposedly put back the latch? So then it comes out later on that the worker, he originally said that the latch was on, but when he talks again to I think to the authorities, he mentions that the latch was off. So I think what happened was that, according to the documentary, that people thought that it was originally said that the latch was on, but somehow reports got confused, and it actually was off when he first found her. So that kind of throws that foul play out of the water and out of the window, excuse me. So I just think, basically, like, for me, like, I just couldn't understand how she got there. I don't want to make any speculations, but I really feel like when they did the autopsy, they found, like, she had low levels of medication in her system, which can suggest that she got tired of taking her medication and she was weaning off of it. And since her family wasn't there to kind of sort of, like, keep her on track, even some time had passed, and the family even stated that she had a tendency to try to go off of her medications because she didn't want to take them, because she didn't like the way how they made her feel. So I could only assume that maybe she was having a psychotic breakdown and she was starting to see things or hallucinating, and she decided to walk up to outside on the roof and just jump in. I don't think she did it consciously. I think she really and truly was just out of her mind. Not to say that, to make light of the situation, but usually when someone who suffers from these types of mental illness, things tend to be their points of view or their feelings or emotions on things tend to be altered from what we will probably know them to most likely react to things if they were on a more logical thinking on a more logical level. But overall, I think that, it's a really good series if you want to watch it. It talks a lot about how people on the street, and how people look at and view mental illness as a taboo subject. Like, no one wants to talk about it. Like, people are too scared, especially when it's dealing with people like in the homeless population, and also dealing with the people that go in and out of the building. Fortunately, I think the building has since closed. I think in 2017 the building got bought out, and I think they decided to close it. I don't know what they're going to do with the building. I know that there were some rooms were for residents, for people who actually for living there as apartments, people vacationing, and for other things. So it had a multi-purpose. It wasn't just for visiting and stuff like that. Some floors were dedicated to visiting. Some had actually personal floors. But the problem was that the way that the elevators are built, people are going to mingle with each other. You might have one person from the city who likes caramel macchiatos, and then they're intermingling with someone who's on the street that might have just gotten a room because from some money that they might have gotten from out on the street, or money that they might have saved, who might not be in a good financial state or best way personally. So there's no cutoff point. So I think that was one of the major issues, like whether or not she ran into someone and they might have did something to her or given her some type of drug that will render her in a relatively psychotic state. Honestly, I think it's a good show. It also talks about this guy who got accused of killing her, and how the internet pretty much treated him as as a social pariah, and he hasn't fully recovered from that yet, and he hasn't really gotten an apology because of the fact that he also had attended he also visited that hotel, but he visited the hotel like a year before she actually did. So what they were accusing him of really didn't make much sense. So I didn't really understand what they were getting at. But it just goes to show like how media and internet can be a dangerous thing. So you guys go out and watch it if you want, if you like to watch it, and just remember that this young lady, she lost her life tragically, and she was a person. She had dreams. She wanted to become a writer, and through her writings and stuff that people have read online, she was really good, very thought-provoking person. And I just wish that things had worked out for the best for her instead of what ultimately happened to her. So rest in peace, Elisa Lam. You are missed, and I'm sure a lot of your friends and family, they miss you terribly. And I just hope that you find the peace that you unfortunately couldn't find on this earth. Whew. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to take a quick break, and I will get back to you in about 2 minutes. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Okay, so the next show that I was reviewing, honestly, this is a little bit late, about maybe a week or two late. So I watched the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view back on, I believe it was, what day that was? I think it was February 21st. Yeah, that was like a week or two ago. yeah. So here's the thing. Now, I know some of you may not be avid wrestling fans. I used to be more into it when I was younger, especially around the Attitude Era. But I kind of got I weaned off of it sometime, and I think between 2005 2006, because I just stopped watching the episodes. Just because it just felt kind of dry. I know I mentioned this in a previous episode here on the podcast, but wrestling could be many things. It could be enjoyable, it could be not. But it's just, I guess, up to the person who, what their view on fun really is. So here's my thing about the Elimination Chamber match. Honestly, for me, as a pay-per-view, I think it was not as bad as I had went into expectations thinking. I think I would have given it as a B- or so. I definitely think that the Raw men's Elimination Chamber match was better than the one from SmackDown, only because of the fact that, one, the champion at the time, Drew McIntyre, actually was defending his title in the Elimination Chamber match, as opposed to Roman, who wasn't in the Elimination Chamber match. So he at that point had nothing to really lose, whereas Drew did. The thing that I'm going to get back to that in a second about the Elimination Chamber and the champions. We had a match with was it a tag match? Yes, it was a women's tag match with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks versus, I believe it was the team of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Due to outside interference and stupidity, the sommelier, who is Carmella Sommelier, for some reason is hanging out with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. I don't know how we escalated from point A to point B, but whatever. But he inadvertently supposedly cost them the tag team championships, and I'm just like, bro, this is stupid. But anyway, it was an okay match. It wasn't like the greatest wrestling clinic ever put on, but it was good for what it was. I'm trying to think what were the other matches that I saw that night, and I'm just kind of drawing a blur. It's been a while since I watched the pay-per-view, so I'm just trying to remember exactly what the heck the matches were. So bear with me. Yeah, so there were certain things about the show I didn't really like too much, and I was just like, dude, what the heck is going on here, I think for me, I was like, well, the show, like I said, was a B-. It was okay for what it was, and since it's pretty much on the road to WrestleMania, it's one of those shows that you kind of look forward to, but at the same time, you don't really care if you really, watch it or not, because to you, in a sense, it's not really pertinent to the bigger show. But yeah, I wanted to talk about this nonsense that happened. So we have I'm trying to find the results so I could just go over it real quick, because I did watch it, but like I said, it's been a while. So, and I'm one of those people that I don't really go back and watch the pay-per-views like that unless I really like the show enough to watch it over. So it's just one of those things. I'm trying to find it so I can give it to you guys. So essentially, the whole wait, I gotta click on this then, right? Oh my god, why is this not working, dude? This is like so stupid. Why is this not working? Anyway, so I guess I might edit that part out. So here's the major thing. So there was a triple threat match for the United States Championship. I didn't see this match. It was with John Morrison defeated Mustafa Ali and Ricochet and Elias to qualify for the United States Championship title match. I didn't see this match. I believe this might have been on the kickoff show. So I believe Daniel Bryan had won the Elimination Chamber match to earn a Universal title opportunity. And yes, he did get the title opportunity against Roman, but unfortunately, Bryan didn't win the match. Honestly, he just didn't win. I don't know. He just didn't win. So Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley and John Morrison fought for another triple threat match for the United States Championship, and Matt Riddle pinned John Morrison to beat the then current champion, which was Bobby Lashley. In Bobby Lashley's rage over losing the United States Championship, you can see MVP makes a deal with The Miz backstage. They're at least talking, but we don't get to hear what they're saying. So the audience is not privy to any information or any conversation. But keep that thought, because that's going to have a part to play later on in this review. So basically, the Money in the Bank men's battle. Now, Drew McIntyre won the Elimination Chamber match, and he was currently champion at the time. What the part I didn't like so much was, now a lot of people didn't get on my case about it, but a lot of people said that they didn't understand why people were so mad that The Miz ended up becoming the WWE champion. I think it's like, oh, it's been long overdue. Let me explain something to you. Now, I am a type of person that I feel like if I'm going to watch a wrestling show and you're going to tell me that majority of the past year spent where you have a wrestler, although he's there a lot of the times, he's just doing a lot of promo work. He's not really wrestling as much, or if he is wrestling, his matches aren't really that good. And I know people are going to be like, but Samantha, The Miz isn't that bad of a guy. I'm like, first of all, listen, I don't care. This guy's been in, and listen, I like The Miz. I've been a fan of his since when he was in, when he first started in Tough Enough, and when he was in the Road Rules and the God, what was the other show? Real World Challenge. Like, I liked him then. But the problem is with The Miz is that The Miz is a phenomenal talker. Like, he can talk his ass off. Like, he could cut a really damn good promo. He's good. He has extravagant mic skills. I give Mike Mizan that. But dead seriousness aside, the man, I've watched his wrestling matches. The Miz looks like he's afraid to hit people. Like, I've seen his punches and I've seen him kicking. His offense is poor. I mean, I would say it's not as bad as some other people who might be just now starting out as a rookie, but it's not all that good. It's like he's almost afraid to hit his opponent. And you as a heel should never look like you're afraid to hit your freaking opponent. Like, you could almost hear him saying, oh God, to himself when he's like striking, let's say, like somebody like Cesaro or Shinsuke Nakamura, or I don't know, some other person or Ricochet. Like he's really looks like he's afraid. Like it looks too. I wouldn't say it looked too stiff. It looks lame, and that's one of the issues that's the major issue that I have with The Miz. It's not that The Miz is a bad, like he just needs to work on that. And I mean, for all the years that he's been there, you would have think that he was gotten better. People say, yeah, he's gotten better over time, but I'm like, where? I don't see it. Like, it literally feels like it's like a turtle hiding in its shell. Like, he doesn't seem like he's gotten any better. I'm pretty sure that people will hear this review and like, oh gosh, she's trashing The Miz. I'm not really trashing him. I just look at some of his stuff and I'm just like, yo, dude, you could have done so much better. And on top of it, they didn't really give him much to do. Like, the company forced the belt off of Otis because they realized they gave it to somebody that they really didn't think in the long run really deserved the belt. They make him get rid of it off of some bullshit technicality. They had his partner turn on him to make him lose that title. And then they moved his former partner to Raw during the superstar shakeup or whatever the hell they call it, the draft. And they never completed that storyline with Otis. A few months ago, Otis had a girlfriend named Mandy Rose. It was pretty much like the Beauty and the Beast kind of thing. They had that storyline. They moved Mandy to Raw. That deaded the storyline automatically. They moved Tucker over to Raw. Haven't seen Tucker since that pay-per-view that Otis lost his briefcase, his Money in the Bank briefcase. And that was it. Like, they legit just fucked this guy out of the damn briefcase. And then after that was the end of it. You never heard of him again. Well, you do hear from Otis, but you never heard of his former tag team partner. And that was the end of that. And then they had The Miz try to cash it in at TLC, but then they said that because John Morrison, who's The Miz's tag team partner, cashed it in for him, it doesn't count. But then I said, wait a minute, and then someone brought this up to attention. I believe it was JD from NY206 had mentioned it on his podcast. It's like, that doesn't make any sense, because look how many times that Brock Lesnar had the Money in the Bank, and Paul Heyman, who's his quote-unquote advocate, has cashed in the Money in the Bank on Brock Lesnar's behalf. So how come one situation it works in your favor, but the other situation it doesn't? Like, that shit right there doesn't make any sense. And right there, the company, WWE, screwed themselves, because I don't think they really understood that people pay attention to things. And I don't want to be a nitpicky type of person, but that's kind of stupid. You can't say in one instance, yes, somebody could cash the Money in the Bank on someone else's behalf, on the bank winner's briefcase winner on behalf, and then another they can't do it. It just seems stupid. And obviously it was a design to keep The Miz with the briefcase for a little while longer, because then Adam Pearce had came and told him, well, since John Morrison did what he did, you're still technically the Money in the Bank winner. And I'm like you won the briefcase by someone else's turning their back and cheating, essentially, and being jealous of not getting an opportunity. And guess what? The guy's still not getting an opportunity. So what does that really matter in the end? But going back to The Miz, Bobby Lashley comes out at the end of the match with Drew McIntyre after he ended up winning the Elimination Chamber match. Completely decimates the champion, beats him to damn near the pillar of the post, brings him back into the ring. The Miz's music hits, and I automatically felt the dread pour into my soul. Like, I heard the word awesome, and I was like, I freaking knew it. That's what they were planning on doing. They decided to have Bobby Lashley table scraps the wounded champion, and then here comes Miz, goes table scraps some more, swooping Tries to pin him, doesn't get it. Then he hit him with the skull crushing finale, and he ends up becoming a new champion. And no lie, I think by the next night he lost the championship. I think that's what happened. I didn't watch WWE Raw the next night. I just watch the pay-per-views and maybe dabble in the show every now and then, but that's about it. The problem that I have here is that the company's unwillingness to see the true potential in Drew McIntyre in terms of him being a title holder. Now, I understand that he became a title holder during this pandemic, so he never got the opportunity to win his championship in front of fans, a live audience at that, which really effing sucks, and it was just dealt a bad hand. So I felt that, yes, it was the right move to make him champion, but you guys made him lose this belt like 3 times now. And it's been under a year since he's won this title. He's lost this belt 3 times now. Under a year. Like, are you stupid? Like, the first time he lost it was due to stupid ass Randy Orton. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call Randy Orton stupid ass because he's not a stupid ass person. But you made this man champion at WrestleMania last year, and then now you didn't fast forward a few months, you made him drop the title to Randy Orton, and Randy Orton was literally, they fought way too many times for it to be a thing. Like, it should have been maybe 3 matches the most, and that's it. Like, the match didn't push Drew any further, and the match didn't push him back any further. It was just whatever, it was the same. It didn't really help do anything for Randy Orton either, because Randy Orton was literally like WWE champion for like what, maybe three weeks to a month, and then that was it. Then sometime after that, Drew gets the belt again, so now he's 2-time champion. Now you're thinking he's gonna hold on the belt to WrestleMania. What happens? He gets all the way here. First, he contracts COVID along the way within the past few weeks or so. He contracts COVID, is healthy enough to participate in the Elimination Chamber match, and then all of a sudden, it's like pure, unadulterated chaos, because now you just got this guy winning and beating him, and he didn't even make a full year as champion. Roman Reigns was out for majority of last year. Took off during WrestleMania. Didn't come back until, if I'm mistaken, it was probably didn't come back until Payback. If I'm not mistaken, if that was the pay-per-view, and completely decimated The Fiend and Braun Strowman. Just came back, just attacked him and everything, and then he essentially then becomes champion later on by defeating I forgot who he defeated to get that belt, but anyway, I think it was Braun Strowman he defeated to get that belt. So I'm starting to think, well, what are you doing? So it was just one of those, like, it doesn't make sense. It's like they just treat Drew like he's just like the title WWE Championship is so insignificant compared to the Universal Championship. And I always felt like this: if you're going to have two major titles on the show, treat them the same on each show. Like, have his belt be represented in the same capacity that the Universal Championship is. Is it not a title that the champion is wearing? So what is the problem? Like, I just don't understand, like, their constant need to do certain things to make it look like Drew would never be even remotely in the same league as Roman, because Roman is now the golden boy for the company, even though it still technically is John Cena, but John Cena is semi-retired, so I guess it's kind of like one of those, well, I still got more to go in the tank. But I don't know. I just find like that they just need to fix that type of mentality. And, I just hope that things work out. All right, guys. Whew. I'm telling you, I'm getting kind of parched here. All right. So that concludes the TVs. Now, the movie section. I was going to talk about these two movies here. I guess I'm going to talk about them in a brief, or try to come, we're getting close to maybe an hour. So I'm trying to talk about these movies in briefly. So I watched this movie called Namaste Wahala, and it translates into Hello Trouble. It's a interracial movie about this couple in Nigeria. She is on the beach running, just enjoying her daily activities. Apparently he wasn't, his name is, oh God, what was his name? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point, but it's just from my own personal, so when I could refer to him in the movie, I could just say, hey, this is this guy. All right, so I'm sorry, guys. It's like, I gotta tell you, it's like been a long day for me. Okay, so the movie is about this interracial couple. It came out in 2021. It's a crossover between Bollywood and Nollywood. So there's this girl. She's a lawyer. She's a Nigerian lawyer named Didi. She's running on the beach, and she runs into this guy named Raj, who happens to be an Indian investment banker. Now, first, they don't exchange each other's names because he crashes into her, and they seem to be hitting it off pretty nice. So, some time passes, and well, not that much time passes. Didi ends up working or dealing with a battered woman organization. So she goes one night with her friend because she dragged her friend out because her friend had recently broke up with her boyfriend. So what she does is she would go to some of these events and think that, it's okay to find love here. Well, at least that's what her friend wants. So they meet, and it turns out that the lady that she works with, that Didi works with, happens to be the cousin of Raj. They hit it off perfectly. Everything is fine until when Didi goes and brings Raj home, and things quickly change from bad to like incredibly bad. Her father doesn't like the fact that he's Indian, so that was one of the issues. Then the fact of the matter is that the father wanted Didi to marry somebody who was Nigerian, like this other character named Samantha. Like, Samantha was a worker at her place of business, but she just doesn't want to be dealing with him. But I think the problem is that the parents on Didi's side and on the mother's side with Raj, I think the problem is that they never really gave their kids a chance to grow up and be actual people. So I think that's one of the major issues there with that. Like, just not giving them the opportunity to go out and work with people and stuff like that. So a lot of things happen in the movie. Like when Didi takes Raj to go and see her family, he doesn't get a welcome reception. Her father pretty much says that it can't happen because he's not Nigerian. Raj feels a type of way because, he didn't, he feels some type of way because Dee didn't inform her parents, that he was Indian. So that causes a rift in between their relationship. And at this point, I think they were dating for about 3 months. They were dating for like 3 months or so. So that was a little issue there. At one point, Dee, I think, comes over and she starts to like stay at Raj's apartment. And the problem with that was then eventually Raj's mom comes from India and stays with him just to see how he was doing and stuff like that. And once she meets Dee, she is like really like nasty to Dee. She would say like offhanded stuff to her and basically saying that she doesn't know any of the customs for the Indian customs, and that basically Raj needs a Indian girl and not an African girl, Nigerian girl. So it just became a lot of issues. So then when he tries to talk to his mom about it, Dee also gets upset because he doesn't really come to her defense. He just kind of lets everything happen, and then he goes and talks to his mom separately, and Dee tries to leave, and they get into an argument, and then they break up for a certain amount of time. It never specifies how much time had passed. I'm guessing maybe a few months or so. All the while, Dee is working on this case, this domestic case that this guy, I guess a politician's son, beat up this girl, and basically now it's whether or not it's a he said she said situation. And she used to work for her father's firm, but then she quit to work for someplace else. And there's a rival in the movie. She's pretty much, she takes every opportunity to cut Dee's ass about her being a lawyer, a shitty lawyer, and stuff like that. Her name is Primo. So Primo goes out of her way to just be nasty, to Dee for pretty much no reason. And the messed up part about it is the majority of the time the father lets it rock. Like, he doesn't even stop Primo from saying anything negative towards his daughter, which I think is kind of messed up, because you're the head of the company. Like, why are you not checking this girl who's coming at your daughter like that? Just because she chose to work as pretty much like a public defender? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not cool. So surprisingly, in here, Sumto, the potential love interest, surprisingly, he doesn't come off as a potential love interest, because it seems like he's not really down for the idea of being in a relationship with Dee. He probably entertained the idea maybe like once, but it never really came into anything. So I think he just kind of came as the supportive background friend, but he was there but not as seen in almost every scene that they were in. I think I liked what I liked about the movie was the fact of the different cultures coming together, because a lot of times you see, if it's an interracial couple, it's a black guy, it's a white guy with a black girl. What did I just say? White girl? Okay, hold on. Let me rephrase that if I did make a mistake. You will see a white guy with a black girl. Yeah, I think I did say it right the first time. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, you'll see that a lot in a lot of TV shows nowadays and movies. So I think it was refreshing to kind of see like the black African girl with an Indian guy. It's also good to see like there was one scene where they were both cooking like their traditional foods respectively in the kitchen. So you had like fufu and something else on one side, and then you had the mom's Indian dish, and they were both giving it to Raj to see whose dish was better and who served it better. And Raj ended up liking his girlfriend's, and he just got full, and I think he ended up leaving because it was just like they were just doing the most. But I like the different cultures and the fact that at the end she actually they actually got married, because he kept saying in the beginning that she's the girl that I want to marry, and I'm like, dude, you don't even know her, how can you say you're gonna marry her? But I like the dance sequence that they had in the movie when they first started dating. I like the fact that they had her wear the traditional Indian garb. It wasn't too like cultural appropriated. So I tend to like the movie a lot. I think this movie is a keeper. I probably would watch it like maybe one more time afterwards, but probably maybe not that much, because quite frankly some of the dialogue was a little hard to understand even with the subtitling. So I think this is just going to be like maybe a 1 or 2 times, and that's for me. All right, now to the kissing booth number 2. So I left off with the kissing booth where Noah is going off to, was it Yale? I think he went off just to Yale, and left our poor protagonist Ellie behind. Ellie decides that she's going to try to do things without, Noah, and she's feeling some type of way because Noah had gotten into a good school and she still hadn't heard anything from any of the schools that she wanted to go to. So the kissing booth comes up where she and her friend are trying to raise money again, and they decided to pretty much make the idea for the kissing booth. The problem is now the new guy, they're trying to get the new guy to come to do the kissing booth. He's a little arrogant. Marco's a little arrogant, and he's not he's cute, I give him that. But Joey comes into a problem that she wants to go to college, but she can't afford it. Her father can't afford to take her to college, so it's one of those things like, why don't you just do a junior school and call it a day? But she wants to go to school out, and so here's the problem. She applies for Yale. She gets accepted to Yale, but she also gets accepted to the same school that she was going to apply with Noah's brother, and she gets into the school. At the end of the movie, she now has to make a decision on which school she wants to go to. The thing with that, he goes to Harvard. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Yale. For some reason, my mind was saying that Noah went to Yale. So basically, after all of that, Joey and Flynn end up doing the thing again, and for her to go to school, she decides to enter a dance competition. The dance competition goes like this. So if she wins with her dance partner, they get to have, I think it's I forgot the amount of money. I think it's like $25,000 or $50,000. And she's gonna make that go and use that money to go to school. Now the issue comes is this now, that Rachel, who's Flynn's girlfriend, is starting getting annoyed because since now that Noah is no longer in the picture and he's away at school, Joey is spending way too much time around him. So she feels that Joey's the third wheel and she doesn't want to be dealing with it anymore. So she tells Flynn to go and talk to Elle about it because just to give them some space. He lies to Rachel and tells Rachel that he spoke to her and he's gonna give her some space. That Elle's gonna give him some space. Now here's the sucker move that I don't like about this is the fact that now you've been best friends with Elle since you guys were like little kids. Why couldn't you have been man enough to tell her that you needed your space? And it didn't have to come out in the middle of a blow up. So what happened is Joey is the actress that plays Elle. Elle is supposed to go and visit Noah while she's on vacation, and she notices that Noah, who's a former philanderer, he has this female friend of his that's very gorgeous. Well, at least gorgeous to Elle. And she notices that he never really spoke about her and stuff like that. So Noah's reasoning for having the female friend, and he also has a lot of male friends as well. The reason why he has the female friend is because he wanted to have the same experience that Elle has with his brother, since they grew up together and they're so close. So that was his reasoning for it, and he told her that nothing happened. Upon Elle being in his room while he was in the shower or something, Elle discovers a mysterious earring. So now she's upset because she's thinking that he's cheating on her with this girl named Chloe, who's his friend. He tells her that he doesn't know where the earring came from, and we have no choice but to believe him, to say that he's telling the truth. But you know how these things go. No one ever really asks the right questions or says the right things. We just only go on assumptions because of our own personal emotions on the matter. So that's pretty much where that went. And basically Joey ends up feeling like withdrawn. So when she comes back to she kind of sort of gets close to Marco, who's like this the new kid in the school. He's cute, and sparks start to fly, but she's still with Noah, so she's feeling conflicted on her feelings on whether or not Noah really wants to be with her, or if she should give this guy a chance. Now, Joey, during the dance competition, Flynn decides that he's gonna go and fake an injury so that she could dance with Marco, who is a better dancer than Flynn is. So Flynn ends up bowing out. He ends up spending time with his girlfriend, blows off his best friend for his girlfriend. And then when they have a Halloween party, Flynn ends up dressing up completely different to what Rachel wanted, because they never told Rachel that they changed the costumes that they were going to wear for Halloween. They end up dancing together and Rachel gets upset. She starts getting mad at Elle. Elle doesn't understand what's going on. She tells Flynn to go after Rachel. Because he said maybe I should go talk to her. She was like, no. Well, he was like, no. So basically, there's a lot of teen drama like activities going on here, bad behavior. So at this time, Elle decides to give her friend some space or whatever, and she ends up going to hanging out with Marco and spending time with Marco, because she kind of sort of brushes off Noah for a bit, and basically after that, she's just so conflicted because she still loves still loves Noah, but Marco's this new guy and he's hot and he's there for her until when the dancing competition comes up, and unbeknownst to Elle, Noah shows up for the dancing competition. She and Marco get like the highest score and they win. Unfortunately, as a lot of things do happen, the two characters get, the opposites attract, and they end up kissing at the end of their routine. She looks out just as they give them the grand prize of I think it's the $25,000, and sees Noah in the crowd, and Noah gets up out of his seat and walks out. So now Noah is pissed because now Elle just kissed this other guy, and then they have the most awkward Thanksgiving dinner ever. So to be petty, Noah invites Chloe, the same girl that Elle thinks that he's cheating on her with. At the same time, Flynn invites Rachel, who's still mad at Elle because she thinks Elle is cop blocking them all the time and doesn't let them have time to themselves. So when somebody asks the question and then out of nowhere, Rachel just starts going into Elle about how she never gives them any time to themselves and she's always around, and why she's always in their face, and then Elle's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she said something to her like, even after Flynn spoke to you, you're still going ahead and you're still not listening about giving us some space. And she was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. He never spoke to me about anything. And he turns to her and he's like, yeah, I was going to tell her, but I never got around to it. And apparently she tried to go and speak to Rachel about it. Rachel was like, no, I don't want to hear it right now. And then she left. At the same token, Chloe and Noah was talking about trust issues and all the other stuff. And then Elle shows him the earring that she found. And she said, yeah, I was wrong for kissing him. But look at this. Like, what is this doing in your room? Apparently, unbeknownst to Mr. Noah, the earring had dropped in Chloe had spent the time with, I think, her boyfriend or some guy that she was seeing in Noah's room while Noah was away, and apparently never told him that she stayed in his dorm room, and then the earring was mysteriously left behind, must have fallen out. So that's why Elle thought that the earring was due to the fact that they were having an affair, because there are times where she would call him and he was unavailable because he was hanging out with Chloe. And she started to feel some type of way about that. So unbeknownst to her, if people would have just asked the questions, everything would have been probably solved in about maybe 20 minutes. At the end of the movie, Marco comes and he tries to go to the kissing booth, and I think to try to talk to Elle to try to make sure what he was feeling was real. And she told him yes, she likes him, but her heart is still with Noah, so she's gonna stay with Noah. And that was the end of that. So there's no relationship between her and Marco on that romantic level. At the end, also another kicker, Flynn is actually mad with Elle because Elle apparently applied to Harvard, and he found her application in her bag when she left it in his car by accident. So basically, a lot of people was mad at Elle for doing things, and one was being mad at Elle for no reason because Elle didn't really know what was going on at the time. So it was just one of those well, if you'd have just spoken to her, maybe she would have gotten it type of thing. So it was just one of those things. But she and Noah reconciled, and so did Rachel and and Flynn, they also reconciled. Marco was basically told to forget about her by his friend, that she's not worth it. But he's like, nah, I think she is. So we will see in the Kissing Booth movie number 3, which is, I think, set to come out sometime this year or maybe in 2022. I believe it's going to come out next year. Just so that you guys have a heads up, the movies are on Netflix. Kissing Booth 1 and 2 are now on Netflix. For me personally, I like the movie, but I thought that the fact that, what I didn't like was like the whole situation with Flynn. Like, Flynn gave Elle so much crap about her dating her brother in the first movie and whatnot. Like, he almost cut off the friendship completely. And what I didn't like about is the fact that you wanted to be honest with your girl, but you wanted to be honest with your friend, but you couldn't be honest with your friend to tell her that you felt that she was encroaching on your time with your girlfriend. And even though that you knew that your brother was away at college, you could have just told her calmly that you wanted to spend more time with Rachel alone. I think she would have understood that, rather than just lying to her and never telling her the truth as to how you truly felt and making the girl get mad at her for something. Like, you literally pitted your girlfriend against your best friend. Like, that was a sucker move on my part, on his part, excuse me, not my part. I don't never do something like that, but he literally did that, and I was just like, what? So now you're mad that she's trying to go and decide whether or not she wants to go to the school, the school with you. I would have been like, no, you go to school with Rachel and I go to school with my man. So simple as that, right? But nothing in life is really all that simple. So like I said, we gotta stay tuned. So guys, I'm gonna stop the show right here. I'm gonna come back with another episode that's gonna be entirely dedicated to one topic, because I noticed that a lot of times when I talk, I feel like my throat is dying, it's going out. But I want to make sure I give you guys the best of me, the best that I can possibly be. So with that, I am Samantha K, and this is the Samantha K Experience, and I'm signing out. Peace.